and welcome to our Critical Studies video on Yeats's poetry. This segment will be suitable for Year 12 Advanced students who have Yeats as their set text for study. So what do you need to know about Yeats? You need to know a comprehensive biography, about the contextual values of his time, his themes, the possible genres for his work, language techniques, poetic structure, and critics' essays. So today we'll be focusing on the themes and contextual values of his time because we've covered genres, language techniques, and poetic structure in earlier videos. Biography. He was born in 1865 and died in 1939, so just before World War II. His father was an Irish nationalist, but his mother believed that Ireland should remain under Britain, so you can imagine there would be some political tension in that family. Yeats's family moved between London and Ireland in order to study visual arts. Both his father and his brother were artists, and obviously Yeats was interested in the arts as well, being a poet and a playwright. In London, he joined the Rhymers Club, meeting other writers, for example, Oscar Wilde and George Bernard Shaw. And in 1899, he published his first collection, The Wanderings of Oisin and Other Poems. So that was a collection that was heavily influenced by Irish folklore and the kind of fairy tales that belonged to his childhood. He was often homesick when he was in London and helped compile books of Irish fairy tales in verse for publication. So he was very proud of Irish culture and heritage. In 1889, he met his muse and unrequited love, poet, feminist, actress and revolutionary Maud Gonne, who worked with him at the National Theatre of Ireland. In 1903, he was a successful poet and playwright, and he toured the USA. In 1917, he married George Hyde Lees, who fostered his interest in mysticism and also encouraged him in the idea of automatic writing. She helped him to write A Vision, which is his book which explains the Blah philosophy of gyres, which becomes symbolic in his poetry and especially in things like the Second Coming. So if in doubt with Yeats's poetry, if you don't understand something, it might be worthwhile to go and refer to A Vision because it probably explains it. Some of Yeats's friends participated in the Easter Uprising of 1916, and he wrote poetry in response to this, one of which is set text for you to study. In his later years, he was elected to the Irish Senate, and in 1923 he received the Nobel Prize in Literature. So you might have heard a little bit about the Easter Uprising, but it is a big influence in some of his poetry, so it's a good idea to take a look at it. The Easter Uprising was a mini revolution. So it was staged by Irish Republicans during Easter week in 1916. They wanted to end British rule in Ireland. So the British had had control of Ireland for a very, very long time. So they were kind of a squashed country that didn't really get to express itself nationally, and a lot of people resented this in Ireland. The revolutionaries, led by Patrick Pearse and James Connolly, seized locations in Dublin and proclaimed the Irish Republic independent. The rising was suppressed after 7 days of fighting, and all of its leaders were court-martialed and executed. The rebellion didn't entirely fail though. In a way, it did bring republicanism back to the forefront of Irish politics, and the English suppressed it because they thought that if they kept a lid on it, then the Irish wouldn't feel the need to rebel again. It actually had the opposite technique. By using violence to suppress the violence, Ireland rebelled and eventually the momentum built up for them to get their independence in 1921.